Which billionaire or millionaire has actually done good to the community?
Harris Rosen offered free daycare for anyone in the small town of Tangelo, Florida, and ended up offering to fund college tuition for any Tangelo resident to go to a Florida public university. In 20 years, the graduation rate went from 25% to nearly 100%, and the crime rate was cut in half.
The Tangelo Park program should really be the model communities use to improve. They run the daycares at converted homes in the neighborhood, so they're in walking distance for the families. They hire an early childhood education expert to lead each PK and then hire somebody from the neighborhood community that they train on best practices. In addition, they partner with local universities to have their education students get class credits for working there. They then partner with other local services and nonprofits, like having the Parks and Rec group provide things for PE or their local community garden. Nonprofit provide healthy food. They also held night classes for parents to both teach them the things they were learning in class, in case they did not get that education, but also teach them about parenting best practices and safety. Lastly, by providing free PK3 programs, it allowed parents to freely rejoin the workforce who couldn't before because they had to stay at home with their children. Investing in free, high-quality early childhood education, PK3, is the best investment you can make into a community. Every dollar you put in generates $8 back into the local economy over the next 15 years. In 20 years, Harris invested less than $20 million and completely changed the community.
The allowing parents to work is a huge benefit for the local economy. Norway started the same some decades ago with a guaranteed preschool spot at a low max cost per child from 1 year old. It is absolutely huge for families here, and everyone with kids who wants to can work.
It's a great investment for society, too. If you have to choose between withdrawing yourself from the workforce to have a kid or not having one, it's terrible math. Why have one parent to one child when we can 1 to 5 and get 4 more people working?
I wonder if they can appreciate the irony in the way they've set up a system in so many modern countries that punishes people for having children in so many ways. Then they find themselves in a bad situation when they see the trend that many young people aren't choosing to start families.
Sal Khan of Khan Academy. There should be more like him in the universe.
Man got me, a first-gen college graduate, through high school and into college. Always loved the videos with his voice and personality.
I was just telling my wife the other day how I could listen to that dude talk about anything. Ditto on him helping me through both high school and college.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that he is such an intuitive teacher. He knows his stuff and has a way of just explaining it in just relaxing terms, even if the content is initially very heavy. Plus, the use of tech and his colored pens, the clever gamification of progress, the whole thing just works so well.
Khan Academy is pretty much solely responsible for my current mathematics skill, which is required for my line of work, programming, controls, and automation. Suffice to say, I went in not even remembering FOIL and came out actually understanding how to apply those quadratic equations to work as seemingly simple as hoisting and rigging. Phenomenal sight.
In AP Physics in high school, we didn't have enough time to cover fluid dynamics, so our teacher gave extra credit for anyone who did the fluid dynamics module and like 5 pages of practice problems on Khan Academy over Christmas break. Our teacher joked that we should have just done the entire year on Khan Academy because nobody in our class missed a fluid dynamics question on the AP test.
Chuck Feeney, the former owner of the duty-free stores at airports. He gave away billions and only has like a few mil to his name.
He gave away over $8 billion over decades and anonymously, too. I think he only set aside $2 million for him and his wife to retire on and donated everything else. Truly one of a kind.
He did most of it without getting attention. It only got revealed that he was giving billions away when he got sued by a business partner. And in Discovery, it got revealed that he was funding his own charitable organization.
#1 wealthiest man in the entire world, Andrew Carnegie, is responsible for creation of public libraries in the USA that we all take for granted today. Before, people had their own books, and it was mostly wealthy or upper middle class people. Working class had little to none, and good portion are illiterate. Best way to help people to be successful is knowledge.
Not just the US. My town has a Carnegie library, and I'm in rural Ontario, Canada.
He's Scottish, so definitely not just the US. My hometown has parks, library, theatre and many other stuff.
A historical British millionaire, James Smithson, donated 100,000 gold crowns, the equivalent of $500,000 at the time, when he died in 1838 to the U.S. people specifically for the increase and diffusion of knowledge. Congress kept trying to come up with ways to spend it, which were all blocked by former President John Quincy Adams, who was post-presidency, the elected congressman from Massachusetts. JQA kept saying the vision to use the gift was too short-sighted. What ultimately he endorsed was the formation of the Smithsonian Institution that remains a center of learning and knowledge nearly 200 years later.
I had no idea the founder and namesake of the Smithsonian was a Brit. Thanks for a good read.
Fun fact, they brought his bones to the US. He's interred in the currently closed main building of the Smithsonian.
Chef Jose Andres started World Central Kitchen, which goes to areas that have been hit by natural disasters, etc., to help feed the residents. They literally have boots on the ground within hours of events happening all over the world.
I volunteered for them in New Orleans for a bit during various parts of the pandemic. That group is seriously awesome and genuinely dedicated to doing good.
He's not even that wealthy. He's a millionaire and he owns a lot of restaurants. But it's not like he started Five Guys or something. He punches way above his weight class in terms of philanthropy.
Paul Newman.
I volunteered at his cancer camp, Hole in the Wall Gang camp, in the early 2000s for a few years. He was always present at special events and the nicest person ever to all staff. Newman's Own was started, so the camp had lasting funding after he passed. And although I'm aware the company has passed hands to greedier folks, the camp is still running. Admission for all sick children is free. Every year, he would host a gala where he invited his celebrity friends to do a play with the kids. I met Bruce Willis, Whoopi Goldberg, and a bunch of other actors there. He did a lot to ensure these kids has the best experiences in their remaining lives.
He, or his lawyers, were really clever with the company, and it's legally obligated to keep funding his charity forever, IIARC, one of the examples of how to use a for-profit to fund a non-profit in perpetuity.
Bill Gates is donating millions and millions for research into orphans' diseases with just a few hundred or thousand cases worldwide, so Big Pharma says, "Nah, we're not doing any research, the market is too small, no money in it for us." That's where the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation steps in and says, "We finance it, go." Hats off, I feel nothing but respect.
Completely agree, the B&M Foundation has given over $250 million to fight malaria, but yet we still have Bob off Facebook telling us how he created COVID and implanted chips in the vaccine. What a world we live in.
Yes, Bill Gates has done a lot of good with his clean water initiative in Africa as well. He is not perfect, and his relationship with Epstein is questionable at best. But the question is, who has done good for the community? And he has done a lot of good.
Bill Gates has done more for humanity, dollar for dollar, than any human in world history. There is a dark side to that, though. I work in an aid-adjacent space, and behind closed doors, you hear people talking about how, if you want the Gates money, you have to play their game. Which means that if you receive Gates money, you need to abide by their priorities. Is it a negative for one man to have so much control over how aid is prioritized and applied in the world, even if that man is benevolent? It is a philosophical question, for sure.
That one way of looking at it. Another is, they want certain things done, and they fund the people who want to do those things. If you don't, go find money somewhere else.
George Lucas. Most of that $4 billion he sold Star Wars to Disney for went into an educational charity.
I really want to believe that George is playing the long con. He knew Disney was going to run the brand into the ground, and he could buy it back in 15 years for a fraction of what he sold it for. Regains control of his baby, his legacy, hypes up fans again for the new possibilities, and make a couple bile on the side for charity. It's a win for everybody. Well, except Disney.
Nobody could have predicted how badly Disney would fuck up handling Star Wars. They didn't even get the theme park aspects of Star Wars correct, which was unthinkable of Disney even 15 years ago. I know he got a lot of zeros in his bank account for the sale, but I think George really believed that they would be thoughtful and careful with the IP, since it's Disney and all. Nobody could have predicted that it was only the beginning in a historic series of misses from Disney.
John Green and Hank Green. They are millionaires that have used their social position to raise thousands among thousands of dollars for charity, Hank's Cancer Socks, support tuberculosis efforts, John Green spoke to the UN, improve the health system in Sierra Leone, and more, alongside curating an educational YouTube channel that helps millions of students. Crash Course.
John Green recently spread information about how TB detection drugs are much too expensive, and the company profiting from it are letting millions die in poorer countries. They have billions to spare. The backlash was so extreme, it was one of the few times a billion-dollar company actually followed demands to reduce prices for poorer regions and to do better in the future. John Green also spoke at the UN for better healthcare access around the poor regions, and his speech was incredible. Dude's also a pretty fun guy. Funny enough, it isn't his money that's doing the most good. It's his ability to communicate to the general public and intelligence.